And we are back with another remote edition. Bryan ready to come home and stay home, y'all. But we got another remote edition of the Doing All Right podcast on a Monday. Bryan is in. You say you doing baseball where?
I'm in Surprise, Arizona, guys. I feel like I'm in the witness protection program. I'm like that, when they black out the guy, they kind of talks like, well, yeah, the mob boss he was a big guy and we all like bow down to, I feel like I'm in witness protection with my lighting and stuff. But yeah, I'm in Surprise, Arizona today. This is Texas Rangers week. With my job at 105.3 The Fan. We do cover the Rangers and the Cowboys. So they bring us out here for 5 days and I get to act like that I'm doing baseball stuff when I'm really working on football stuff.
Surprise, Arizona. Like that's the name of the city, Surprise?
It's Surprise. Yeah, the Surprise, Arizona.
That's definitely somewhere that you hide when you're running for your life.
It's a retirement community that's become really kind of a mecca of Major League Baseball. The Kansas City Royals and the Rangers share a facility, one of the beautiful stadium here. And so, yeah, we're all these, what they call the Cactus League, all these teams are within about an hour of each other. So you got the Dodgers and the Indians and the Guardians, the Padres, the A's, you got Giants, you got them all out here. So they just kind of play each other every day. We have spring training baseball. So out here doing that, but also, like I say, diligently figuring out things that happened at the combine and then, the work that you and I are doing on our players.
Bryan, as I reach for my water with no branding on it.
You need to do something about that.
It's all good. I reached out to the peoples there. Sure. I kind of wanted to operate this Monday and Tuesday show as kind of like a Q&A. I know you wanted to kind of put a bow on the combine. But what better way to do that than to kind of ask the people what they felt about it? Me and you kind of react to it.
Absolutely.
So I reached out to the peoples there, Bryan, and we had so many responses that we're going to use today and tomorrow's show to kind of get to you guys, talk about topical Cowboy news and combine stuff. Okay. So Bryan, let's just kind of lead this one off, right? I think there was a lot of hubbub about the guys that showed up and they did their thing and they worked out well. Let me just lead it off like this. A ton of people asked this, so I'm just going to address it for the 9, 10, 15 people that asked. My board doesn't change at all. For the good, for the bad, for the whatever. You know what I'm saying? Because if you watch film properly, and I don't want to sound, like her rough. I don't want to sound like that kind of guy. But if you watch the film, you kind of had a feel for what these guys are and what they're going to do combine day anyway. Now you can officially put a number to it and all this kind of stuff. And you may be a little surprised about what some guy did versus the other. But for the most part, my board's not going to change, right? Here are some common examples, Bryan, of how I feel about that. Sonny Styles, right? Yeah. Sonny Styles, linebacker on my board. I got a 2 on him. They say, Voch, is he a 1 now? We knew Sonny Styles was going to go in the first round. We knew Sonny Styles could go pre-12, but on my board, I value film more. I knew Sonny Styles was going to test really well. I knew that Sonny Styles, for his size, was incredible. He's still going to be like, when I do my big stack, Bryan, he's going to be 13th or 14th or something like that. So if you draft him at 12, cool. It's just that I'm putting him versus the best linebackers in my mind ever. You know what I'm saying? And those are guys that diagnose extremely well. Those are guys that deal with blocks really well. You know what I'm saying? I think Sonny Styles is a guy that's kind of growing on the job, but measurably, like the measurables and the testing, I don't put as much into that because I want to see what you look like on the field. Another example, Bryan, Rodriguez, our linebacker from Texas Tech. Well, Voch, you had questions about his speed, but he comes out here and he runs a good time. Does he change on your board? Nah, because on the field, he ain't running fast. Like, on the field, I think a running back can take advantage of him, right? I don't want to look at these guys who've been prepping for this combine. They probably lost a little bit of weight. They hired a 40s coach, you know what I'm saying, like a change of directions coach or something like that, just to do these drills. I'm much more concerned about what you look like in the pads and what you're doing on the field, right? So my board don't change at all. ball. What will happen is I'll go, all right, Mike Washington, the running back from Arkansas. Me and Brian had him on the list to watch him anyway. So when he runs a 4.3, we go into that going, all right, he finna run faster than everybody. Cool. Or our guy Claiborne, the running back from Wake Forest. We knew he was going to run fast. He goes out and he run fast, but he still fumbles the ball 5 times. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to say, from my perspective, everybody that's watching right now, the board ain't going to change. If my board changes at all, it has something to do more about me getting out my feelings as opposed to what their combine situation is. Brian, did you want to touch on that?
Yeah, I tell you what, I appreciate what you're saying there, because I feel the same way. And this is one of those times I do appreciate the fact that Chris Johnson from San Diego State put his hand on the line and ran a 40-yard dash for me. Means a lot. Really does. And, but does the play speed or the time speed in the 40 translate to how he plays in game speed? That would be something that I think that, I'm not trying to be stubborn about this. I'm just trying to say, okay, am I seeing a 4.4 guy playing here? And I'm super, super happy for the kid that he didn't run 4.55. I'm really happy that he was in the 4.4s, and and good. That probably solidifies him on some boards, maybe higher than on my board. But I do think you have to acknowledge the kids that did put their hand on the line. They did run a time, whether they trained for it, lost weight, and all that. I acknowledge that, but I need to see that speed. Now I have questions like about with Chris Johnson. It's like, okay, then why does he not always play like a 4.4 guy? Yeah. That's the kind of the thing that I would look at going forward. So, I think there's acknowledgement, and then there's also, 75, 80% of that, my grade is what I see on the game film. That's the workout, the medical, what I could get, what information I could get from there. Yeah, it's all part of it. I don't get to do an interview. Yeah, I mean, I get to listen to guys answer questions with the media and kind of get a little bit of an idea about them there, but I don't get to sit down and ask them the questions that I want to ask them, in a one-on-one setting that way. So yeah, hey, great for the kids that did some things to prove that they do have some legitimate speed. And, like I say, I'll acknowledge that, but I'm going to be pretty much leaning very hard on those, that film grade that I have.
Now, something that I do value the combine very much is it doesn't change how I think of things, but it does. Like, teams change their mind all the time, but teams suck at drafting. Yeah. So what the combine will do is kind of give me a good feel about how other teams are going to, kind of react to these things, right? So in my mind, Sonny Styles, who could be available for you at 12, it's much less likely now because teams saw the combine workout and they're more likely to go, oh man, Sonny Styles, let's draft him because XYZ. Like players' draft hype and their draft profile do rise and fall based on combine workouts, Brian. Just another example, CJ Allen, the linebacker from Georgia, was a guy that I felt early he was like a firm top 20 or so guy. But him not working out, the draft hype of it feels like CJ Allen could be a guy that falls into the 30s, or he could fall into the second round officially, Brian, because he didn't just work out officially. Brian, we got a question from one of our peoples there, Josh Weaver from Twitter. He says this: Voch, do you think Bain could fall because of basically how the league kind of visions him and his measurements, the arm length? We may not care, Brian, but the league may care about arm length. Even when you guys talked to Dane Brugler on 105.3, he was saying, man, some teams got him as a 3 tech, Brian. Do you think that Ruben Bain falling to 12 seems more realistic than it once did?
Every mock draft that you've seen from media scouts and stuff like that has all been Ruben Bain is never, it's very rare he gets down to you at 12. It always seems he's 2, 3, 4, somewhere, he's always, it's really funny how now all of a sudden he's a short arm player. Teams could look at that, but also teams need to be very mindful. If you watch the Miami tape, there's 17 weeks of him feeding blockers with short arms. Yeah. There's 17 weeks of him keeping blockers' hands off his body. There's 17 weeks of him dipping, getting to the edge, swatting hands away, counter moves, being too quick for the tackle to block. It's all things that are going to translate for him when he gets to the National Football League. He's that type of player. So to me, I honestly think, listen, if Ruben Bain's there at 12 for the Cowboys, I don't know if they'd take him. Gosh, Bryan Broaddus would. I would absolutely take this kid because I've seen him against some quality offensive tackles break them down to the point where he has adapted playing with what we call shorter arms. Him, Howell, those guys, you can watch them. They have this ability to break blockers down. And I think with Bain, I think it's really unfortunate that all of a sudden he's a short arm guy. Well, damn, watch 17 weeks of him playing football. Yeah. That's what you need to focus on. Like these kids that might have a deficiency with the length or weight, bulk, all that stuff. They find ways to play at a high level. The really good ones do. Ruben Bain's no different, man. Ruben Bain is a monster when it comes to pressure. I'll put him up against all the guys that we're talked about, the Baileys and guys like that. Man, Ruben Bain's my top-rated edge on my board, and so I'm not gonna deviate from that. And I'm going to stack him really high. And if teams don't want Ruben Bain, if I ran a draft, Ruben Bain would be, if he was there, I would absolutely think about handing that card in, because of where I'm probably going to have him stacked.
Bryan, Small says, is there any player from the combine that you watched them work out and their combine workout didn't match their film at all? Like you watch somebody at the combine, you go, damn dog, this ain't like you on the tape, but you're doing this at the combine right now. You probably got to, look at your notes at it a little bit, Bryan. But is there anybody whose combine and film didn't match up at all?
I was thinking about some of these wide receivers. Mm-hmm. And I think I was looking at Daniels from Miami. Mm-hmm. And I was looking at Bell from Connecticut. And I was watching them, and they were doing the gauntlet drill, and in film they appeared to be those inside route runner type guys. Yeah. That it was, you felt like, okay, man, they're snatching the football right here. Mm-hmm. Like you watch Concepcion go through there from A&M, and it's snatching that ball, Bernard snatching that ball the way they go through there. So I was kind of like, I was a little surprised that Daniels, Bell, those guys, maybe I saw it wrong. They didn't look as comfortable. Whereas in the game, that's something they kind of put their hat, hang their hat on right there. Mm-hmm. when you watch them play. I was thinking too, I was looking at some of these. I think that, it wasn't that they were different. I thought they were better in the drills. Guys like Stooks from Arizona. Yeah. I was kind of thinking like you're watching him play, but you're watching him. They put him through those drills where you're kind of like, you saw it a little bit. And I'm saying this in a positive way. You're like, damn, the movement skills are pretty good here. The ability to turn and all that. I love those kinds of things. So I was pretty impressed with it, but I think the wide receivers, that gauntlet drill will expose the heck out of you if you don't feel comfortable doing it. Mm-hmm. And there were a couple of guys that I mentioned on there that usually are pretty comfortable running those inside routes. The nerves must be just on the absolute edge when these kids are working out.
Bryan, from a big picture standpoint, right? Like not just what me and you think. What you think about Caleb Banks, the tackle from Florida? He showed up and he was top measure everything. He tall and he big, the arm length, his hands is humongous. You know what I'm saying? And I kind of thought of him as like a guy that's because you have him further down your board as well, Bryan.
I have him in third. I do. Yeah. I have been top of I have 130 on the grade is where I got him. So yeah, I've got him in the mix of kind of all those other 322-pound tackles that we're dealing with right now.
I also have a 3 on him, Bryan, but Salty One. Mm-hmm. He's alluding to the idea that Caleb Banks is in play at 12. Salty One, let's relax. But Bryan, what I will say is that do you think Caleb Banks working himself up this hype ranking a little bit, do you think that that'll favor the Cowboys in terms of more guys falling to you at 20 or maybe something like that? I can see a world where, Caleb Banks has athleted himself into the first round conversation. Teams ain't good at drafting at all, Brian, but does it benefit you in a way that, hey, that's one less team that'll take a pass rusher or a corner or maybe even your safety that we about to talk about in a little bit?
Yeah, I think that, that's kind of my hope right there. I mean, this guy he does move well for his size, and he can be disruptive. And, but the thing about him is, like, I just kind of see him, he just doesn't, he plays really high. And and that bothers me about watching him play. I mean, his pad level when his pad level gets up, they block him, and maybe somebody will work with him and get him I appreciate our listeners say, oh no, he's in the mix at 12. I'm like, I don't know about that, but there's like snaps where you can watch him, LSU, Florida State games, where like he gets knocked off his path and ends up on the ground. Yeah. Me, I can't stand players that get knocked on the ground. I just can't. And I don't know, maybe that's just me, but he's got a foot that needs to be checked. I'm sure they checked it at the combine. He had some surgery on it, need to circle back around and make sure that's okay. It looked like he was fine playing on it, but you're talking about a 6'6", 325-pound man with a foot surgery, and you just worry about that a little bit. But I didn't see a lot of great pass rush moves. I saw a guy that's big, and I saw a guy that plays with effort, and I saw a guy that can be disruptive, but I didn't see a lot of, like I say, the pass rush moves, the bended knee, and him getting knocked around a little bit by some blockers.
All right, Brian. Let's get to our feature presentation here, Brian. Let's really roll.
Did that answer the question? Did I answer the question,
you
or did I
well,
just give
Brian.
a scouting report on?
You did well. Somebody would do it, but we ain't doing it. If our last name was Jones, you know what I'm saying? We not overdrafting Caleb Bain. Shots out to our mans for asking the question or whatnot, but I'm not going to overreact to the combine where I'm taking Caleb Banks from a 3rd round pick to 12th overall.
Yeah, you know what? Hey, listen, I am more than willing to, as we do this, and you and I have done this for a long time.
Yeah.
You and I have done this for a long time, and we're going to have some, when you do this a long time, there's a lot of history out there where you're good and bad, and I have no problem with that. Caleb Banks turns out to be the second coming of Randy White or something like that. I'll be more than glad to acknowledge the fact that he did that, but I know what his film says, but I appreciate the workout too.
Now let's get to this feature presentation, Bryan Broaddus.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to pat myself on the back as, I don't like being right. People think I love being right. I hate being right. I just want to give y'all, But Brian, there was a lot of conversation going on with these mock drafts, man. They was like, Voch, I would love to trade back and get Dillon Thieneman like in the 30s or something, Voch.
Sure.
Hey, Voch, man, if we could find a day 2 pick or something, get like 34th over from the Browns, get 39 or something, Voch. We can get Dillon Thieneman or something.
We had that exercise on the stack. And
I was like, man, I'm not a coward, Mr. Broaddus.
I'll
take him at 20 is what I said, Mr. Broaddus.
You did say that.
I said, man, look, now, if you like the player enough, I don't care where everybody else have him. I don't care about his placement on everybody else's board. I'll take him at 20. I don't care about the value pick, because if I try to trade back and I lose him, now I'm pissed off. Now we all hurt. You know what I mean? But Brian, Dillon Thieneman showed up and tore the combine up, Bryan Broaddus.
He did a nice job.
What are your general takeaways? Have you kind of changed your mind? I know the answer to all this, but where you at on Dillon Thieneman, the safety from Oregon? And now, Brian, I saw you fighting for your life on the social medias when you said, when people went to you, said, well, Brian, would you take him at 12? And you was like, hell nah, I ain't taking him at 12. Good job at the combine, but I ain't taking him at 12. Brian, what's your thoughts on Dillon Thieneman and the job that he did?
First off, thank you for paying attention to our account there at Crown Global Media, because the Bryan Broaddus account is off somewhere in Never Land. I've lost so much hope. I've lost hope in America and customer service. I've lost hope. Thieneman, second best safety on the board, behind Downs, as we talked about him. I'll say this, I'll challenge people. I'll challenge people here. And this is the question I have for people. Tell me how many first round grades you had first. Then tell me if you had him in your first round stack. Tell me that.
Well,
don't tell me now. Don't tell me you take him at 12 and you've got him 23rd on your stack. Don't tell me that. If you watch that tape and you legitimately had him, and I'm guilty because I didn't have him in the first round stack. He's likely going to be player like where you were talking about taking him, player 18, 19, 20, somewhere right around there, So to me, I am totally on board with I'm totally on board with where people are talking about the guy. But if you in your heart can tell me that you had him in your top, say 15, if you have 15 to 17 named first round grades and you got him in there, by all means, you want to take him at 12, go for it, But you where you stacked him, you didn't have him where you would take him in that. You didn't have him there. You didn't have him close enough. You probably had him at 23, 24, 28. Now he's probably going to go to 18 to, somebody is looking at it and saying, well, Minnesota Vikings at 18 might be a good replacement for Harrison Smith. And so that's probably where he'll end up. But if you listen, if you're telling me you had him in your top 15 of your stack, by all means, go for it. But you're letting a workout influence you. The tape's good. The workout's even better. And I'm not trying to be stubborn here. I'm just trying to say we come from a school of 70, 75, 80% of what the tape says. There's a lot of guys that work out really well that don't play worth a damn in the NFL. Yeah. This guy's one of the guys that plays well and works out well. Yeah. So if, I'll challenge you. If you tell me you had him in that top 15 of your stack, by all means, take him at 12.
Well, Bryan, don't be a grouch. The people having fun, man. The people having fun.
I know. It's not. It's not. No. It's not a grouch move. Not a grouch move. No. Not a grouch move. I'm just trying. Listen. Don't window dress your board.
For sure.
If you think that kid is a top 15 player off the film, put him there. Sure. But don't sit there and jack him up like 10, 12 spots because of a workout. You weren't sure. You when you did your initial film work, not you, but all of us. Yeah. All of us. We thought, it's a top 20 player. I would be hard pressed. There's going to be somebody at 12 that I'm going to have ranked higher than him. Am I going to be right? Only history will tell me. Only history will tell me. But I'm not going to sit there and jump him. I'm just going to jump him, 10, 12 people because of a workout. And I'm not trying to be. I know you're having fun with me on the grouch part of it. Yeah. I'm just trying to educate folks. Listen, this is what window dressing your board is. This is what it is. Your first inclination of what he is probably the right one. So I'm going to tell you that I love the player. I take him at 20. I probably wouldn't take him at 12.
Yeah. I am having fun, but I agree, Bryan. Thieneman hasn't worked himself into the 12 range for me. But Bryan, something I will say, and I saw a lot of people saying this, I'll ask you this. Voch says this.
Yeah. Can I ask you something real quick? And I would like, because I respect you more than anybody. Where are you on this then? And you said, I agree with you, but I'd like to hear it. And I'm not hearing it as affirmation to me. Sure. I'm hearing it because there's people out there that don't trust me and they trust you. So I just want to make sure that the people that trust you get your side of the story.
I think what happens is, Brian, and just like with anything, damn, Mike McCarthy, Stephen John. I think people get really excited. People get really excited, and I think people will eventually cool off. I think we've just built up tolerance to where we cool off a little quicker. I like Thieneman a bunch. I think the workout was very impressive, but what I think happens is when when he's working out, you forget that. Like you don't remember your exes. You don't remember some of your other candidates or whatever, right? You just kind of think about Thieneman, which is why, Brian, I played a game with you. You know what I'm saying? And look, I think it's an underrated game. So you may be high on Thieneman. Voch, y'all take him at 12. Okay, but let me ask you this. Thieneman or Mesidor? Thieneman or Howe? Thieneman or Proctor? Thieneman or Sadiq, who just ran the 4.39 that you also excited about, right? And I think what'll eventually happen is you'll remember the good feeling that you had with Howell and the good feeling that you had with these other guys, and it'll eventually bump you down a little bit. Hey, you may be saying Thieneman at 12, but what if it's Thieneman versus Sonny Styles? Some people would say Styles, and now you're going, okay, well, Thieneman at 13 or something. And you just keep going down and down and down. I'm excited as well. I was very impressed with him. But I think at the end of the day, I'm always board building, no matter what happens. I'm looking at my board. I try.
That's me. I'm the same way, and I really appreciate your answer because I think you explained it well. I think the idea is, if you're going to move a guy up, if we all thought he was at 20 and now we're thinking of him at 12, well, who we putting him ahead of that we liked at 12? Yeah. Do we get the guys wrong at 12? Yeah.
Nobody's going to take Thieneman when Downs is on the board. Nobody's going to take Thieneman when Delane's on the board. You're not going to take Thieneman if Bain or Love is on the board. So pump brakes a little. It's all good. Just a little. Let me see if I had another question for you before we get into the players.
Yeah,
I'm gonna save these for Tuesday's show. Brian, let's talk about some players, man. We got two players today, and I think they're both kind of fascinating in their own right. And look, Brian, it may not be fascinating in a good way. You know what I mean? But today we're going to talk about Jaydn Ott, the running back from Oklahoma, California. I had to go back and kind of watch him a little bit.
Yeah, you got to watch the Cal film for that one is what you got to do. And you might come away pretty impressed.
We'll see. And Jalen Stroman, the safety from Notre Dame. Brian, which one of these guys did you like the most?
Stroman, actually.
You like Stroman more than I? Okay.
Man, I'll tell you, watching the Cal tape, I hate this.
Let me just say this, Brian. Let me just say this. I got a 5 on both of them, but go ahead.
Yeah, I think actually I went 4 on Stroman, 5 on the other guys. What I did, but yeah, let me. Which one you want? Which one are you going to do first? Which one you going to talk about?
Let's do Ott.
We do Ott first. Okay. And you mentioned it. He's a transfer from Cal. He only played in 7 games for Oklahoma. And so this was one of those. He was a graduate transfer. So obviously a pretty bright kid to be graduating from Cal and then moving on. Yeah. He was invited to the Senior Bowl. But you got to go back and watch him play like at Cal in like 23, 24. Those are the last 2 seasons. I mean, have been just kind of a waste because of injuries. But this guy has some explosiveness. He does have some reliability as a pass catcher. The burst, the acceleration. He's got some start quickness. It's pretty impressive. I like kind of was watching him, the patience that he was able to show, and then he kind of puts it into another gear. He's kind of able to split creases, and the defenders were kind of struggling to react to him a little bit there. Yeah. I thought the vision was really good. And so, cause he could see it and then he would go again. This is all mainly stuff he was doing at Cal, but he kind of runs through arm tackles. You can use him all over the formation as a pass catcher. The pass protection's a work in progress for sure. But he's got some willingness, but man, he gets just overextended and it's a kind of a problem there. But he had a shoulder injury at Oklahoma, and he had ankle problems at Cal. There's something we kind of need to be worried about here a little bit with this player, but that went for 5'11", 208 is what I had him at. And I did put him in the 5th round. I had to go back on the production. Somebody might like this guy because he does 2 of the things that a running back's supposed to do really well. So probably 5 is probably too low on him, but I couldn't elevate him into the guys I have at the 3 and the 4 to be able to put him in that spot. So I stuck him in the 5th round.
Yeah, Brian, you have to go back to the Cal film for sure. In the Cal film, he showed some quickness and some balance and some ability to kind of break tackles a little bit. I thought one of my biggest issues with him was I thought he kind of ran himself into a lot of trouble. You know what I'm saying? I thought he would like do a lot of bouncing and people would catch him in the backfield, or he would think that he didn't see something as well and he'll try to work outside and they'll just catch him outside. That ultimately means vision and patience to me. I didn't think that he had a great deal of that. This is just Cal, by the way. We just talking about Cal right now.
Yeah, this is where I think you and I differ a little bit, because I was watching and I'm sorry, I just should let you finish. My apologies.
No, please, go ahead.
I did see a guy, because that start quickness. It was like it would develop and then he would go. It's kind of like he would take the ball and he was looking and then go. And maybe that's what I was seeing. Maybe the vision's not what it is. I think the patience part of it's probably better than the vision part of it. If I had to circle back on that.
Yeah. And, he does have tape at Oklahoma, but you got to be very thorough and, meticulous with it. He may get 4 carries here, 8 carries. I think he
averaged 3 yards a carry. Yeah, he averaged 3 yards a carry, I think,
So, Brian,
Oklahoma.
I'm watching him at Oklahoma, and I'm only looking at what he's doing at Oklahoma. I just feel like he kind of regressed a little bit. And, Brian, tell me if I'm wrong. I don't think he got hurt. I just think he got benched in general.
Yeah, it was weird. The shoulder thing was a issue. And then you read in and he's kind of you read in and it's like, well, now he's 13. And how does this guy go from a 1,300 yard back to 13? So there might've been some issues along the way that you're pointing to, Voch, that are absolutely right.
So now I'm going, all right, so what's up with the consistency? What's up with the, you know what I mean? He doesn't look like when he was running the ball, he doesn't look as quick as he did at California.
Right.
He didn't, he didn't have some of the same, balance or whatever, right? And Brian, this made me think about last year, Gordon. So you remember Ollie Gordon, the running back from
sure did. Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State. He's with Miami now.
Yeah.
Is this a similar type situation to where the placing is bringing down the value or whatever? Because look, regardless, right? If I just look at him as a running back, just only as a running back, he's still not as good as some of the guys that we've watched previously. I'll still take those guys, right? But what got him benched has me kind of worried. You feel me? So it's just a bunch of question marks around him. I don't get a chance to figure that out. And look, it's not like a Krosky-Merritt situation where you played a whole bunch of New Mexico, you get to Arizona, and now you just can't play. He played. Yeah. He just got benched for whatever reason. So that's a lot of mystery for me, Brian. I don't really want to get into him all that much. So I got him in the 5s, and the more running backs that we watch, he might be an extra. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. Fair assessment. There is ability there. You just don't know if you're going to get it out of him. So we'll see how that plays.
Stroman's kind of weird to me, Brian.
Yeah.
Stroman's a little weird to me. Good looking kid.
Real good looking kid.
Good looking athlete, Brian. Notre Dame plays him on the roof a bunch.
They do.
I think he was at his best when he was strong nickel guy.
That's exactly where he needs to be.
I believe. But they played him a bunch on the roof. So now me watching Notre Dame film, I'm having to, just like we do with Golday, right? I'm having to ignore your roof film because I don't think he particularly has a bunch of range for the roof. I don't think he's particularly a good like a good help guy in coverage. I don't think he baits quarterbacks all that well. I think he's like a short range zone guy as opposed to like a big rangy zone dude, like a long range zone guy. I don't think he's all that good in man coverage neither, Brian. So what I kind of see him as is like this strong safety nickel dude that don't play it a whole bunch. You really have to compartmentalize his film to get a good feel for him. But Brian, if he's in the box, I kind of want you to be a demon in the run game, kind of sort of, right? You know, Brian, he could be aggressive sometimes, but other times I think he's late to the party on purpose. You know what I mean? And maybe that's because the angle to get to the run game is different from free than it is strong. I like him as a run game dude better at strong than from free. When it's at free, I feel like he's jogging to the run stuff. I don't like it at all. But from strong, he'll throw his body around in there a little bit. I think he's going to be like a matchup dependent type dude. And I would really hope that some team drafts him and keep him away from the roof. They'll play him at nickel, play him at like a box linebacker type of guy. Did you kind of get the same feel, Brian?
I people get mad when you and I agree, but I think you got the player right. I think he does his best work in the box. He really does kind of prefer to be around the line of scrimmage to kind of get through the traffic, get to the football. There were a couple of screen passes. I know I was watching the Syracuse game, and you'd watch the Syracuse game. He was he was a first round player, the way he was making plays. There's times where he will come flying, and I was impressed with that. But the thing that, like I say, the thing that is not his strength is playing a lot of stuff down the field. I mean, him having to kind of locate and find the receiver, find the ball, and all that. I think he had like one interception in 40 some odd games he played. So the ball skills are not, something you kind of, we were watching guys play these safeties and they're around the ball, they're making interceptions and all that. I said the last thing I said to him is he seems noticeably more comfortable coming forward than working backwards.
Yeah, for sure.
And I said, that's how I would play him going forward at the next level. So if you think he's a free safety, and I got him listed with the strong safety guys, and once again, I've got him down there in that fifth round area. I just don't, and I don't have. I think he's when you start to talk about, we have Taffy from Texas, guy who was a kind of a free guy, and then him as a strong. They're both fifth round grades on my board. Depending on, I think Taffy, is probably a more heady player, kind of around the ball. Makes plays on the ball, tackles okay. I think that Stroman tackles a little bit better, a little bit more physical, maybe. So, but both those guys are in the fifth round for me right now.
Yeah. Interesting group, Brian. We're going to have another group that's kind of interesting in that same way for our next show or whatever. We'll kind of break those guys down whenever we get to them. But, I think we're still finding quality players. And, Brian, I want you to think about this, and I want everybody watching right now. This is for tomorrow's show, okay? Brian, we're always talking about 12 and 20, right? But me and you kind of in the weeds with this thing. We're in the third, fourth, and fifth rounds now. Brian, I want us to start thinking about, can we find a starter for the Cowboys defense in the fourth and fifth rounds? Now that we're here and we got a good feel for the players or whatever, I want you to think about it. But everybody at home too, kind of go in the comment section right now, tell us what you think about it, and definitely be ready to talk about it tomorrow and kind of hear us back and forth about it a little bit, because I do think you can find starters with 12 and 20, but now we need to start thinking about, can we also find somebody at 114, which is your fourth round pick? But we'll break that down on the next episode of the Doing All Right. Appreciate you very much, Mr. Broaddus there. Did you have any other remarks for this episode?
No, man, I appreciate it. And like I say, the combine to me, we said it earlier, and we always, I say it on the stack, trust your eyes on this stuff. I think the film is so important. The workouts are great. Don't get mesmerized by the workouts. Yeah. Use the workouts to be able to say, well, listen, it looks like to me that on these drills, it looked like his hips were a little bit better. Why are his hips not as good when I'm watching this? So he looked like he had a little bit more of a burst. Why is he not have a burst here? Use the workout to kind of either answer some questions that you have and don't have about these players, and and you can apply it that way. And instead of making just massive jumps with these players on your board, think about them in a way as how the workout is able to benefit you to answer some of the questions you might have about the player, and that's a lot easier way of looking at them.
Yeah, fair enough, Mr. Broaddus. Hey, where can we find it is all on crownglobemedia.com, everything that you're looking for. Bryan is going to eventually, I think once he gets to like 150 or something, he's going to put his board up there, the link to his board.
Yeah.
So we're going to be
I'm getting close. When I start getting this 5th round guys, I want to put my board up too so folks can see it. So, sure. I appreciate everybody that's asked about it. I just want to make sure I have a good list of guys for you guys to work off of and see where I'm at with these as well.
Yeah, we're going to put it up on the website. We'll make a section or something like that, Voch and Bryan's board. Y'all can find mine on Twitter right now because I don't mind letting y'all watch me figure it all out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And actually, Bryan, I'm putting together my stack for the second round guys. So when I feel like I don't have any more guys that can add to a round, that's when I start stacking them. So my first round guys were already stacked. I don't think we're going to find any more second round grades. So now I'm putting together my second round stack just to kind of get a feel for where do we find these guys.
I'll tell you what I'm really looking forward to. We get down to the end of this is putting together a Doin Alright stack. Yeah. You and I stacking these guys, you and I together, and kind of that'll be our official list. That'll be an interesting couple of shows, you and I going back and forth where to put these guys.
That'll be fun as hell. It'll be lengthy because it's going to be full of arguments and fussing, but we'll be
a lot of fussing going on there.
Crown Global Media on social media, and I am Voch Lombardi as well, and we'll see y'all tomorrow. Love y'all to pieces. Crown.